What do you think if I told you that the ancient Egyptians were using electricity, or they knew the exact surgery thousands of years ago? Here's what no one tells you about pharaonic civilization. At No. 10. Building pyramids. This is the Great Pyramid of Giza, which was built by the famous Egyptian ruler Khufu. Around 2550 BC, we often think of ancient Egypt as a time when medicine was limited to herbal remedies and spells. The ancient Egyptians developed one of the most accurate calendars in history. They divided the year into 12 months, each month with 30 days, plus 5 days at the end of the year. The ancient Egyptians had a deep fascination with the planets in the sky. They saw the planets as divine beings and believed that they had a special connection to the pharaohs. The Egyptian Book of the Dead is a collection of religious texts that were used in the funeral rites of ancient Egypt. During this time, gods possessed advanced technology and abilities that humans could only dream of. Archaeologists recently discovered a strange coffin in Egypt that turned out to be hiding a shocking secret. Inside the coffin, which belonged to a priest, they found a fake coffin. But that's not all. When they opened the second coffin, they found the mummies of 2 babies and some funerary artifacts. The discovery of the fake coffin suggests that the Egyptians may have used them to trick grave robbers who were looking for valuable items to steal. The babies' mummies were likely used as bait to lure thieves into the tomb, hoping they would stop at nothing to get their hands on the valuables buried with the priest. This discovery provides us with a rare glimpse into the lengths to which the Egyptians went to protect their dead and preserve their sanctity. One of the most fascinating aspects of Egyptian mythology is the concept of flying. Which surprised you the most? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. See you soon with more amazing videos. The Egyptians believed that some gods, such as Horus, Ra, and the goddess Nephthys, could fly through the air with ease. In fact, there are many depictions of these gods in Egyptian art showing them with wings or riding on flying creatures such as baboons and falcons. But it wasn't just the gods who could fly in Egyptian mythology. Humans, too, were said to have the ability to fly, although this ability was much rarer. According to one myth, the first human to learn how to fly was a man named Imhotep, who was the vizier of the pharaoh Djoser. Imhotep is said to have built a pair of wings made from linen and feathers, which allowed him to fly into the sky. He used his newfound ability to spy on the gods and learn their secrets. Of course, this story is just a myth, but it reflects the Egyptians' fascination with flight and their desire to understand how the gods were able to soar through the skies. These texts were written in hieroglyphics and contained spells, prayers, and hymns that were intended to help the deceased person's soul on its journey through the underworld. The Book of the Dead was not a single book, but rather a collection of different texts that were used at various stages of the funeral process. Some of the spells in the book were used to protect the body from being eaten by animals, while others were designed to help the deceased person pass safely through the underworld. The Book of the Dead provides us with a unique window into the beliefs and practices of ancient Egyptian religion. It shows us that the Egyptians believed that the afterlife was a dangerous journey that required careful preparation and assistance. These texts also give us insight into the importance of death and the afterlife in Egyptian culture. This belief led to the development of a unique form of astrology that was used to predict the future and guide the pharaohs in their decisions. The Egyptians believed that the planet's position in the sky could influence the fate of the pharaohs in their kingdom. For example, the rising of the dog star Sirius in the east was seen as a good omen for the pharaoh. At the same time, the planet Jupiter was associated with kingship and power. The Egyptians believed that when Jupiter was in a certain position in the sky, it was a sign that a new pharaoh was about to take the throne. This belief may have played a role in the succession process, with potential contenders for the throne watching the planet's movements to see who would be chosen. Overall, the ancient Egyptians' fascination with the planets in the sky was an important part of their culture and belief system. Their unique form of astrology helped shape their view of the world and their place in it. Their calendar was based on the cycles of the Nile River and the stars in the sky. The curse of the pharaohs is a supposed curse that affects anyone who disturbs the ancient Egyptian rulers' tombs. The curse was first mentioned in 1862, when a French author wrote a story about a British engineer who visited the tomb of the pharaoh, Tutankhamun, and then fell ill and died. Since then, many people have claimed to have experienced the curse of the pharaohs after visiting Egyptian tombs. Some people say they have had bad luck, while others say they have encountered strange phenomena in the tombs themselves. There are even some who claim to have been physically harmed after visiting these sites. Despite these claims, there is no evidence that the curse of the pharaohs is real. Most likely any bad things that have happened to people who have visited Egyptian tombs can be explained by coincidence or natural causes. However, the legend of the curse persists and continues to fascinate people around the world. This level of accuracy was unheard of at the time. The Egyptians were able to accurately predict the annual flooding of the Nile River, which was essential to their way of life. They also used their knowledge of astronomy to predict the movement of the planets and stars. This allowed them to develop a highly accurate calendar that remained in use for centuries. The Egyptian calendar is still used today as the basis for our own Gregorian calendar. Many of our months are named after the Egyptian gods and goddesses, such as January, named after the Egyptian god Amen. But new research shows that Egyptian doctors were much more advanced than we thought. Recent studies of mummies, including those of pharaohs, have revealed evidence of surgery and the use of painkillers, something we didn't know about before. Researchers found traces of opium and other drugs in some mummies, meaning that the Egyptians used drugs not just for religious ceremonies, but also to relieve pain. This discovery suggests that the ancient Egyptians had a deeper understanding of medicine and pharmacology than we previously believed. The Egyptians kept detailed records of medical treatments and surgical procedures, and they passed their knowledge down to future generations. This led to the development of medicine in the Middle East and the rest of the world. It was the tallest human-made building for more than 3,800 years. And despite all this time, scientists still can't figure out how the Egyptians built it. Scientists have put forward many theories about how the pyramids were built, but none of them have been proven. One of the most mysterious places in the pyramid is the king's room. It's a small chamber located deep inside the pyramid, where the pharaoh Khufu's body is believed to have been placed after his death. The room is only accessible through a narrow passageway that is too small for most people to fit through. This has led to speculation that the room was built for Khufu alone, and that it was meant to be his final resting place. However, there is no evidence to support this theory. Another interesting fact about the king's room is that it doesn't contain any hieroglyphics or other forms of decoration. This is unusual because the Egyptians loved to decorate their tombs with images of the afterlife and scenes from the pharaoh's life. The lack of decoration in the king's room has led some to believe that it was never meant to be a tomb. Instead, it may have been a secret hiding place for the pharaoh's treasures or a storage room for sacred objects. Whatever the case, the secrets of the king's room continue to fascinate historians and archaeologists today. So the secret of building such huge and precise pyramids remains a mystery. Some say the construction of the pyramids was a very simple process that relied mainly on manpower and sophisticated engineering methods, while others believe that there are other mysteries hidden behind the construction of the pyramids that have not been discovered yet. Because whoever built these structures used advanced technologies that we are not aware of today. For example, some believe that the Egyptians used machines similar to modern cranes and pulleys to lift the huge stones to the top of the pyramid. However, there is no evidence to prove or disprove any of these theories, and the true method of building the pyramids may be lost forever. At No. 9, mysterious lifting technology. We are used to thinking that the ancient Egyptians were a primitive society that lived in a world without electricity or advanced technology. But what if they had secret technology that we don't know about? According to researchers at MIT, the Egyptians had a way to move giant stone blocks with ease. They believe that the Egyptians used a system of levers and ropes to move the blocks, a technology we haven't seen before. The researchers also believe that the Egyptians used sound waves to cut the rocks accurately. In addition, they might have used a type of crane to move the stones into place. What makes this even more amazing is that the Egyptians knew how to keep their technology secret. They hid it from everyone, including the Greeks and Romans, who were known for their love of engineering and technology. If the Egyptians really had this kind of technology, it could change our understanding of ancient civilizations and how much they knew about engineering and science. At No. 8, drugs and surgery and the pharaohs. At No. 7, the Egyptian calendar. At No. 6, secrets of the king's room in the Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid of Giza is full of secrets. At No. 5, the relationship between the pharaohs and planets. At No. 4, the curse of the pharaohs. Is it real? At No. 3, book and use of the dead. At No. 2. Flying in Egyptian mythology. According to Egyptian mythology, there was a time when humans and gods walked the earth together. At No. 1. What did the Egyptians hide inside the coffins of priests? This is only some secrets of civilization that have not been fully revealed until today.